Yeah, so I guess we can go over to the last topic now,
Yeah, I kind
which,
of did touch on it a little bit already,
yeah, we
but
did. Just slightly. This one is analysts expect US EV sales to temper in 2024. So this is interesting. I think this also kind of coincides with the potential for the used vehicle and new vehicle markets reducing in prices as well as we get
mhm,
further and further away from 2020. So it's interesting that like it's I think as a general trend it's like people are probably waiting longer to make purchases on cars, but like we also have access to like the factories designing parts again. So there's
yep.
kind of a shift in the
There's a lot of
uh
cars in the market right now
yeah,
that people
exactly.
start buying. Yeah,
So I do think that now is probably a lot better to buy a car in general, but it is interesting that not as many people are looking for EV solutions, which I think probably also relates to people like having to commute again more and like potentially
mhm,
people moving away from
yeah,
like bigger cities and maybe not having access to these solutions anymore. I think that could also play a bit
yeah. I
into
think
it.
there's just also how many people, how many early adopters in metropolitan areas can you possibly have?
Right,
If
exactly.
every metropolitan area, has, I guarantee you most of those the sales are within metropolitan areas.
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
so,
of
like, I mean,
course.
how many times can like, nobody's, like, buying one in the middle of, like, the Great Plains where there's be, like, a house every, like, 20 miles or whatever.
Mhm.
No one's buying an EV out there
Right.
because there's just absolutely 0 infrastructure for it out there. Like, so, like, I mean, so how much what is the percentage of people do you want in a city to own EVs? Eventually, you're gonna hit the point where everybody who wants an EV in those areas is gonna have one, and then you're just not buying anymore because people in not metropolitan areas they're not incentivized to buy electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So eventually, you're just going to hit as much market as you can reach, and then that's just going to be the end of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I agree. I think it said that there's like a extra week or 8 or 9 days that like these vehicles are staying out
on the
on
lot, yeah,
lots
like
and
they stay
stuff.
on the lot like 9 days
So
later, longer on average.
yeah, I mean, I will say like if you're interested in buying an EV, this might be a better time because you might be more likely to get a better
They might,
deal.
yeah, the price might go down.
Yeah, either that or probably just getting a used car in general. Probably a better time now than it was like 2 years ago when I bought my car. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. 2 years ago was not a good time to buy a car.
yeah, I bought a car as soon as I moved out here because I needed it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that
that was not
was
2022 was not
22.
a good year for car buying.
Yeah. I didn't have much of a choice though. I was like, "Oh, dang, I can't buy a new car right now because it's going to be like 6 weeks of wait time." And then also like I
Used cars were through the roof because new
yeah.
cars would take 6 weeks to get there.
Yep. Yep, exactly. But I do think that it's an interesting trend. I guess we'll see how things continue in the next like couple months and see if things swing back up, but
Yeah,
overall I think that it's pretty clear like everyone who wanted an EV has probably gotten one at this point,
yeah.
maybe not everyone, but
And
like
like the
most
article
people.
said, I think that article said too that there are a lot of people who are interested in getting
Mhm.
EVs, but they just don't believe for whatever reason it's the right time to buy one, so they're opting for
Right.
hybrid,
Right.
which
Yes,
is
yeah.
probably your best option right now.
Yeah,
Like
I
because
agree.
as we have iterated many times, I think just the infrastructure is just not there for EVs. I would be concerned with buying one myself. I feel like
Yeah.
at least with hybrid, you have the in case of any emergency, you have a gas backup.
Yeah. And that's
You
the
know,
biggest thing for me. I'm like, I wouldn't want to put all my eggs in the basket of, oh, where's the latest or
exactly.
the closest charging station?
Closest
How much
charging
range do
station,
I have?
and
Yeah.
then you look it up, it's like 300 miles away, and you have like 100
Hmm.
miles of range left. And you're like,
Well, I'm screwed.
guess I'm gonna die in the middle of nowhere.
Yep. Yep. And so
I mean, I'm not you can really do there.
yeah, makes a lot of sense. And then also like there are a bunch of delays apparently in production, which seems to be going on. I think it says Tesla might delay $1 billion or $1 billion manufacturing investment in Mexico. GM's pumping
I,
brakes
yeah, I
on
think that
truck
was noticeable.
production.
They were delaying that stuff because the sales were lower than expected.
Yeah,
So they're not investing the money into it.
right. And so
So
I think it all kind of makes sense, and we'll just have to wait and see how this goes over the next year or two. Like
yeah, I
I think
think you can for see widespread EV adoption is going to be a good couple decades. I think.
yeah,
I think the technology is just too new right now. Still,
right.
like you have to give it a good like 20 years probably,
Hmm.
and you'll see it start to really make that shift.
Do you think we're closer to having EVs or having like driverless cars for like Ubers and like ride shares and stuff?
I feel like the autonomous driving that's even going to be harder for people to convince to get
Hmm.
over EVs. I feel like just because people are not going to want to trust the technology.
I do think they already exist in like trial runs in different cities and
Oh no,
stuff like that.
I think I thought I assumed your question was about like widespread.
Widespread.
You're
Oh,
talking like
widespread.
widespread
Yeah, yeah,
adoption.
yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like convincing people to get an autonomous car is going to be even harder. Like the average person is going to be way harder to convince them to get that than
Hmm.
ever getting an EV. And
Yeah.
it's already pretty hard to convince someone to get an EV. I think that people are just going to be like, I don't want to trust this, AI, this robot to do the
Hmm.
driving. I'd rather do it myself, even if it gets to the point where they're significantly better than a human ever could be. It's just that you're putting the fate in something you can't control. I think is what's going to drive a lot of people to not to go for that option.
I think as long as there are people driving, driving yourself will be the better option
Hmm.
compared to a like AI. At
Hmm.
least for now, maybe like in a couple
Like if it was a
years.
whole, if every car on the road was part of like an autonomous network,
Yeah.
you'd be like, that'd be pretty safe. But I feel like if you're in an autonomous car and there's somebody driving behind a wheel, there's
Hmm.
no way that autonomous car is going to be able to figure out any possible thing that humans going to do because
Right.
humans are unpredictable.
Right.
It's not going to be prepared for every type of situation that human driver could put that car in,
Yeah, I
no
think
matter how much training you do.
yeah, that's definitely true because the biggest issue is like you need to make sure in real time you're getting as much enough information to make decisions, right?
Yeah.
For a autonomous vehicle. The biggest variable is pedestrians and other vehicles, right? Those are like some of the biggest variables you have to think about. Sure, I mean there are probably items that could land on the road and stuff like that. That's also a thing, but those are like the most common things. It's like people walking past you or a vehicle that's going to crash into you.
Yep.
But if every single vehicle, it's just like you plug in your GPS location that you're trying to go to, you plug it in, you're driven over there, you just sit back and relax, and everyone's doing that, well, then you'll get things like seamless merging and stuff like that. Like that could
Yep.
happen, right? But the only way that would work is if
It's if
no one was
everybody's in
allowed to
an autonomous
drive.
car.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no driving anymore. It's just you're always a passenger, that's it. And I don't think that would ever happen. So for
No.
that reason, it's like, yeah, it's going to be much harder to get widespread adoption of that. I think it'll be easiest to get it in metropolitan areas because we have
Yeah,
grid-like
same with
structures.
EVs.
Yeah, like New York City. New York City has a very grid-like structure. You just download a map, right? And then you have the
Yeah.
full map of the city. You know all the addresses. You're good. You just got to update different locations for like um, different maps locations, I guess. That would be the only thing, right? And then the only thing you'd have to think about is beyond that, just traffic, people, stuff like that. In a city that's super congested, you're gonna have a lot better time than um, a
Hmm.
wide open road with like
Hmm.
tons of traffic. Still, if people are driving fast, it's gonna be a lot harder to deal with. So, I
Yep.
agree. EVs are probably a lot closer. I do think.
EVs maybe 20 years. I'll give autonomous like 60 years
Mhm.
at minimum.
What about? I think. Yeah, that's probably a decent timeline. The only caveat I would say is I think that metropolitan autonomous vehicles could probably beat out widespread EV um, adoption.
Maybe.
So I think
That
that
could be possible.
I,
I don't know. Maybe I just haven't really. I don't really follow what's going on with autonomous cars, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like they're just probably not that far yet.
mhm.
But I want to know because I don't really follow the field. So
Yeah, I haven't looked a lot into it in the last year or so. So yeah, I'd be curious to see how the whole AI revolution would have impacted it. Because I
mhm.
mean the way you train EVs, sorry, not EVs, autonomous vehicles, is very similar to how you train anything else. It's just with input data,
Yeah.
training it, and stuff like that. Um, the only question mark would be like, has there been a huge influx in new data to utilize? I don't think it's to the same degree as like ChatGPT, right?
Hmm.
Because that's just, oh, any user can just go on and type in prompts and figure out if this is a decent response to the prompts that are being provided. You don't really have that for cars because it's a much
No.
more critical and sensitive area. So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's all I think that we had for today. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. I will try to link below the articles as well that we were looking
And
at.
if you forgot, spam the comments, boost us in the algorithm. And then even if you did forget, like the video. If you remembered, like the video and comment. Wow, Albert, I'm so happy you remember to put the links in the description
Or
because
yell at me for not doing it as well.
yeah, yep. Either or, like the video and comment, boost us in the algorithm because yes.
Alrighty, guys. Catch you later. Bye.